I'm sorry, you asking me if I'm ready? Oh, yes, one. You think that'll work for you? Maybe one time. Sorry, I was in the middle of doing something.
Good morning. It is July 23rd, 2024, and it is currently 9:03 a.m. And I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. First up, we do have our invocation from Father Jim Lehman from Holy Family American National Catholic Church. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, we may call you by different names, but you are a God of love and peace, a God of unity and wisdom. We are made in your image and likeness, and we are called to love each other. Sometimes we have not lived up to this command of love and avoided and judged the other, but we try again. We ask your blessings on our county commissioners as they gather together. Help them to work together and to listen to that spirit of unity and peace. Help them to work together for the betterment of our community. Help them to realize that each brings a different point of view, but when we work together and respect the other, it is then that we discover wisdom. We ask all these things in your name, as you are a God of love, peace, and unity. Amen.
Thank you. If you all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Brandy, if we can get a roll call on determination of quorum.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Here.
Commissioner Chaparro,
Present.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Present.
Vice Chair Murillo,
Present.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez.
Here, thank you, Brandy. We do have quorum. The commission convenes as the Board of County Commissioners and the Board of County Finance in open session. Mr. Lopez, do we have any changes to the agenda this morning?
Yes, sir, we do. Commissioner Reynolds has asked that item number 16 be postponed to a future meeting. And that
Okay.
is the only change.
So that's going to be item number 16, the resolution authorizing the Doña County Board of County Commissioners to change the reporting of the county attorney and internal auditor from the county manager to the Board of County Commission. We'll be removing that and postponing it to a future meeting. Any other changes to the agenda?
That is all.
Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So move.
Second.
I have a motion by Vice Chair Murillo and a second by Commissioner Chaparro. Any discussion on this?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner
Point
Reynolds.
of order. Are you making a motion to remove this item from the agenda?
It is, the motion was to approve the agenda as amended with the removal of item
My
16.
apologies, sir. Thank you.
Of course. Any other discussion? Brandy, if you can roll call us on the amended agenda approval?
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparro,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo,
Yes.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, moving on, we do have the consent agenda, where the board will be asked to approve by one motion the following items for reoccurring or routine business, which is items number 1 through 12.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner,
I have a question on number 8.
okay, are you wanting to pull it or just a question?
No, I just have a question.
Okay, can we get a motion in a second and then we'll have discussion on
So
that?
moved.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Chaparro and a second by Commissioner Sanchez. Okay, and then Commissioner Chaparro, you do have a question on item number 8?
I do, and also item number 9. Was there a bidding process that was followed on these two?
Commissioner, I am not positive, and I'm trying to look right now in the agenda documents online, and
Mr. Lopez, if I,
Yes.
based off of the agenda items on the presentation, it looks like they were not bid. They were used, it was done through CES, so it does not look like it was bid out.
thank you.
Thank you.
So 8, 9, okay. Any other questions, commissioners, for the consent agenda? Seeing none, Brandy, if you can roll call us on the consent agenda?
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparro,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo,
Yes.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez.
Yes, motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. Moving on, we have.
do-
Oh, go ahead, Brandy. I apologize.
We do have 2 resolution numbers for the consent agenda. Item number 6, 2024-87. Item number 7, 2024-88.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brandy. Moving on, we do have our pet showcase, which is done by Interim County Manager, Mr. Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our cat of the week is Drogon, a 4.5-month-old domestic short-hair male who says, "Meet Drogon, the little dragon with a big heart. He may not breathe fire, but he sure knows how to ignite a spark of joy in anyone he meets. Drogon's perfect home would be one where he can spread his wings and paws, embracing his wild side. Favorite activity is exploring his kingdom and melting hearts. Come meet this fiery kitten, but beware, he may cast his love spell on you." And our dog of the week is Buddy, a 6-year-old large mix male who says, "Hi, I'm Buddy. Life here in the shelter is okay, but I dream of a home where I can be my water-loving self. Nothing gets my tail wagging like a good spray from the garden hose. Chasing and chomping on the water stream brings me uncontainable joy. Why adopt me? Because every home needs a buddy like me. Someone to greet you with pure joy, make each day a little brighter, and have so much water fun. The lake is calling us, my future human." And we do have the red, white, and cute adoption events continuing throughout this month, where all adoptions are $50. And we have the Girl Scouts and Animal Services Center, the Mesilla Valley Pet Adoptions, taking place this Saturday at Plaza de las Cruces from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. And those are our pets of the week.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Moving on, we do have our public input section where we will ask anyone from the public that would like to address the board to please come up, sign the white binder to your left, and you will have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Morning, Commissioners. Mark Feith, District 1. I have several things to talk about this morning. One, this will surprise you, I'm sure, because I've talked against green. I bought an electric vehicle. I didn't buy an electric vehicle because I want to save the planet. I bought an electric vehicle because they said that that vehicle with their charger will power my house if there's an electric failure for like days, not just a little while, but for days. But what I found out is driving down from Albuquerque, I did not have enough electricity to make it to my house. At 10 o'clock at night, I searched. I found the convention center electric charger, 3 hours, this many, 3, for 45 miles. That was enough to get me to my house, get me back here, and to find a faster charger. So electricity, if you don't have, now I have my own charger, I have my own solar cells, I'm retired, so my truck can sit under those cells and suck down free energy. And right now I'm at 1,100 miles and I've spent $30 on electricity. So if you got your old solar panels and your vehicle can sit underneath them, it's a great deal. And it'll power your house if you buy their charger. The Torrance County, I sent the commissioners the link. I need to send you the link. My question is why did they do the audit? And did they also do the state audit that told them, these are the precincts we want you to look at? Were those precincts bad, or what caused them to do the audit? That's my question on that. Jim continues to come in and say, stop prayer, stop prayer. You know, our founding fathers were against it. The signers of the Declaration of Independence, when I get that, I'll email it to you guys. Over half of them were clergy. Over half of them were clergy. He keeps bringing up Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson's one guy. He'll bring Thomas Paine into the fight. Thomas Paine wasn't a founding father, but his thing is he brings in people, but it's like one or two. Our country isn't based on the thoughts of one or two. It's based on the thoughts of the mass. So the fight of we got to stop this because our founding fathers were against it, it's not a good fight. Thank you.
Good morning. So long, Susanna. My name's Jim Hurst. I'm tired of this separation of church and state junk. It's not in the Constitution. It was in a stinking letter, and it means nothing like what they say it does. So says Lauren Boebert. Most of you know how foolish Lauren Boebert is. Indeed, it would be unfair to judge most conservatives by Lauren Boebert. Most of you know that the principle of separation of church and state is indeed in the Constitution, and there are several Supreme Court rulings to that effect. The words checks and balances are not in the Constitution either, but the principle of checks and balances certainly is. Madison thought the principle of religious freedom and separation of church and state was so fundamental to our freedoms that it was the first provision in the Bill of Rights. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Somehow, this body doesn't think that including the religious ritual of prayer in these proceedings is an establishment of religion and a violation of the principle of separation of church and state. I guess you believe tradition is all the justification you need to ignore the Constitution. I submit to you that America is at its worst when it ignores our Constitution. One would surmise that you think the issue of prayer in these proceedings is no big deal and not worth fighting about. But it is worth fighting about. I can quote many other voices than Boebert, including the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, who has no respect for the separation of church and state. Given their way, they would outlaw birth control, they would use education vouchers as funding for religious institutions, and they would permit religious instruction in public schools. Indeed, many red states are embarking on this very course of action right now. If you don't defend separation of church and state on matters you consider trivial, then it would be more difficult to defend the Constitution on more important matters. Some will say, we pray at the commission meeting, so why can't we pray at school? Or some other outrage. You either defend the separation of church and state all the time or some of the time. If you only defend it some of the time, then you participate in its erosion. Please live up to your oaths in the practice of prayer in these proceedings. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I just want it to be part of public record that we are going on public record again, opposing the Shalem Colony Park and Trail. It looks like I might be the only one here this morning, but our opposition petition is at 744 signatures at this point. The negative impacts of this park far outweigh the positive benefits that would be enjoyed by those. I'm not saying that a park is not a great idea, but where it's proposed, how it's proposed, the things that are proposed within the park don't need to happen, especially now with our public safety the way it is, the homelessness the way it is, the drugs the way it is. I know that there were several here in opposition at the IBWC meeting last week. Public comment and the experiences that were shared by the members of your communities were heart-wrenching. And if you did not see that meeting, please go back and watch the recording of the public comment. They started about 55 minutes, I believe. But we urge you to oppose the park project. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, if she might be able to state her name.
I am so sorry. Marcy Teague. Thank you. District 5.
Any other public comment this morning? Seeing none, we'll move into staff input. Is there any staff input today?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, there is. We're going to start off with Asma giving us an update on the status of our ERAP program, which in short is good news. We've still got money to give away to people who qualify.
Nice, wonderful.
Asma,
Thank you.
take it away.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Asma Dawood, Financial Services Director. Today, I would be providing a brief update on our emergency rental assistance funds. So the CARES Act, part of the CARES Act, the Congress approved Emergency Rental Assistance 1 in December of 2020 and ERA 2, Emergency Rental Assistance 2 in March. So Donna Ana County, because our population was over 200,000, we received these fundings. For Emergency Rental Assistance 1, we received $13.6 million. This program already ended in December of 2022. All funds have been used. And Emergency Rental Assistance 2, we received $20.5 million, and this program is still ongoing. The total amount the county received was $34.26 million. So for ERA 1, 90% was for assistance, which was $12.27 million. So between March of 2021 and December of 2022, about 2 years, we assisted over 2,400 families, and all the $12.27 million went in rental and utilities assistance. For ERA 2, we have received $20 million, of which $17.5 million is for rental assistance and utilities assistance. We have already spent over $15 million, and we have assisted over 1,800 families in the county. We still have $2.5 million remaining in assistance, and we are continuing to accept new applications. Based on our current rate, we are expecting by end of this calendar year, by December, we would be ending this program. And at that time, we would make an announcement when we stop accepting new applications. So this graph shows at the bottom, we have the Emergency Rental Assistance 1 funding. All 12.27 million were spent and 2,400 families were helped out. ERA 2 lines are at the top. We currently have spent 15 million in assistance, and we still have 2.5 million remaining, which we are planning to use for the next 5 months. The eligibility for the program is that the applicant should be at 80% or below of the average median income. They should qualify, either they would have received unemployment benefits or experienced reduction in income. So they have to provide proof of financial hardship and the documents required for the application. If it is a priority application, someone who is facing eviction or is below 50% AMI, has been unemployed for over 90 days, we expedite the application as well as contact their landlord and utilities to try to avoid the eviction and shut off. The maximum the US Treasury allows is 12 months of assistance plus 3 months additional to ensure housing stability. That is 15 months. If an applicant applied for both ERA 1 in the past and now ERA 2, the maximum then is 18 months. We have several households who have already reached the maximum limit. So at this point, if they've maxed out, so we cannot give them more assistance. The applicants do need to certify every 3 months to make sure that they still meet the eligibility criteria of AMI and other requirements. At this point, we are providing 6 months of assistance because our program is expected to come to an end within 6 months. So, and assistance is based on availability of funds. So this program we had 3 programs in the state. One was through DFA, one was Bernalillo County, and the third was Donna Ana. So the other 2 have already ended. We are the only one in New Mexico who are still running the program. We were able to receive additional 13.4 million from US Treasury for ERA 2, which has helped us continue the program. Our initial was only 7.1 million. Again, US Treasury gave us another 8.2 and 5.2 million. So the end date for the Treasury is September of next year, 2025, but based on our current funding level, we estimate by December of 2024, we would be wrapping up our program. So please let me know if you have any questions.
Ozma, can you go back to that last slide for me? Thank you. Oh, nope. One too far. Right there. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Chaparro.
Good morning, Ms. Dowd. How are you? So I've been getting a lot of calls on this program from my district, and so I'm a little confused. And quite frankly, I've been calling the office, and no one's answering. So the ability to speak to a real person is very limited. And people are just leaving messages. Whether the calls are being returned or not, I'm not sure. But I do have a question for you, because I have a lady that called me and was about to be evicted. She had received assistance in the past, 2 years ago, to be precise, but she and her children now live in a different home, different address, different landlord. Would that person qualify for additional help in a different household with a different landlord, or is it too bad, so sad, she's already received assistance?
If she had already received the maximum 18 months on both ERA 1 and ERA 2, no, then she wouldn't be, because it's based on the applicant and not on the landlord or rental housing. And of course, so we currently, Mary Trail is the manager on the ERAP program, and I can definitely reach out to her and ask her to review the case, just make sure if she has already received. But yes, it's per applicant, and they do verify the eligibility of the applicant and if they have received assistance in the past, and if they had maxed out on the entire amount, or if there were still some months left, we could assist them if they qualify.
All right, and is there a better time to call to the program where someone can speak to a live person rather than leaving a message?
The timings are 8 to 5, and yes, I will go and I will talk to our front desk to make sure that there is coverage all the time, and somebody does answer the phone.
Because I called and I couldn't get through anyone, so I was forced to call Stephen and Mr. Macias. So thank you so much. I appreciate your response.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ozma. We appreciate that.
Mr. Chair, we do have a few more items on staff input. I did a presentation last night with the businesses for a Safer Los Cruces, just talking about where the county is looking at trying to get input from our constituents. Very engaged group last night, and looking forward to getting ideas from them on how we can have a safer Doña County, how we can improve quality of life, and how we can take advantage of economic development. And then I'd also like to mention that last week, the Office of Emergency Management hosted 4 tabletop exercises over 2 days at the Farm and Ranch Heritage Museum. It was a great success, and this is as a result of OEM obtaining a grant for services from the National Exercise Division of FEMA. The FEMA team actually came down and led the effort. There were over 100 participants in those 4 exercises. Very good participation from across governmental entities and even more important, non-governmental organizations that often carry a big burden on the recovery side of disasters. And this now sets up OEM and the county for putting in a grant application for functional and full-scale exercises to be supported by the federal government coming up. And the National Exercise Division was very impressed with OEM's effort and the participants. And the results that came out of that, all of the exercises are actually going to be part of the national program so that other communities across the United States can take a look at that and glean lessons and even use some of those slides if they want to create their own exercises following that. So really exciting that that happened, and there are less than 50 programs selected across the country each year, and so to be selected, it's really impressive and speaks highly to the efforts of the OEM team. And that concludes staff input for today.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Moving on to county elected officials' input. If any county elected official would like to address the commission.
Good morning, Chair Shelter Hernandez, Commissioners Reynolds, Sanchez, and Chaparro. Eugenia Gina Montoya Ortega, Assessor here in Doña County. Wanting to share that we in the Assessor's Office have approximately 160 protest hearings set now for August 5th through the 9th. This number is down from the original approximately 567 original protests. The reason that this number is down is thanks to our hardworking appraisal staff who have been able to meet with the customers and find a happy median. So they agreed to go ahead and sign off. This number is expected to still come down as our appraisal staff is still working with customers to see if we can work this out before we actually have to come to our protest board. On another note, the New Mexico Association of Counties Assessors Affiliate would like to invite all the residents of Doña County to participate in a series of stakeholder meetings to discuss solutions for non-residential property assessments in an effort to be more transparent and predictability for businesses and property owners. This meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August the 6th from 9 to 11 here in our BOCC chambers. The affiliate does recognize that these are ambitious goals that can often become contentious. Nonetheless, a solution-oriented conversation may lead to a better understanding and perhaps even propose legislation that can result in an overall benefit to everyone involved in these discussions. And last but not least, just wanting to let all the taxpayers of Doña County and all the residents of Doña County, if they ever do have a question for the assessor's office, please don't hesitate to reach out. We are here to serve, and we are happy to help if we can. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Thank
Commissioner
you.
Chaparro.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Madam Assessor. I just wanted to congratulate your staff. They've already been to the house I'm building. It's all measured, and I'm sure that it's done in a very great way. But I was very impressed that the assessor's office has already been out there, although my house is not completed. So I appreciate it. So I know that not only are you doing it in my area, but it's throughout the county. And I know it's hard work, so thank you.
No, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Reynolds.
Yes, hi, Mr. Ortega. The question, you said there's a Tuesday, August the 6th at 9 a.m. There's a meeting here with the New Mexico Association of Counties to discuss non-building property,
The non-disclosure law.
non-disclosure law?
Yes.
Okay. And what is that? Can you explain that just a little bit?
Yeah, so what is New Mexico's non-disclosure law? It means that the sales price of real property is not available through public record. In addition, New Mexico State Statute 738-4, confidentiality of information, prohibits county assessors and property tax division from sharing information about sales information to the general public. So normally when we as sell our house, for example, that information is not, it's not available for you to see what my house sold for as a partial. So commercial property, we have no access to any sales unless the people that are involved in that sale will share that information. So this is very important legislation so that we can actually be fair, not just kind of, depend on reports that we pay for to try to get information.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand what you're saying. Is so with the non-disclosure legislation, you have to basically just draw a conclusion based on your analysis of the property without looking at current sales statistics for the area, for similar buildings. You have no access to any of that information to draw those conclusions?
Commissioner Reynolds, we do actually have a company that we do pay for some reporting. However, because of the information that they have, the commercial property owners, they do not share specifics. Like they will not say this is Commissioner Reynolds' property. They'll say it's a building that's approximately whatever, all the information, but it's not real specific. So we are not sure what area. We just know it's in Doña County. So by us having the non-disclosure laws passed, it'll actually be more specific.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other county elected official input this morning? Madam Clerk, anything? Okay, wonderful. Commission input, if any commissioner would like to make input. Yes, Commissioner Reynolds.
There's a couple of events I'm actually going to be attending here in the next week or so, and that is our base commander at White Sands is actually being promoted to general. And I've been invited to that meeting next month I think it's on August 3rd or 5th. I have to look at my calendar again. That's one meeting, and I have to look at my calendar again for what the other one was. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. Commissioner Sanchez.
Thank you. We do have a couple of meetings coming up, just in case anybody's interested in attending. Tomorrow, here in the Commission chambers at 1:30, there's this meeting of the South Central Transportation, SCRTD, the Regional Transit District here at 1:30. And then on Thursday, we have our new ASCMV board meeting with the new makeup with members of the public that will be joining us. So that'll be 9 a.m. at City Hall chambers. But just wanted to share that with the public. Mr. Veith, welcome to the EV community. I congratulate you on making the jump. I will tell you, if you look up front of the government center, you'll see a couple of 60-watt charge points that will be commissioned here in the near future. Doña County was working with the NMDOT. We have 2 chargers up front. We'll have one in the city of Anthony and then one in the village of Hatch. That should all be coming up and commissioned here in probably, hopefully, the next about 30 days. So should you ever need a fast charge or the community, that'll be there.
I did notice them, and I also did notice that they were not working.
Yeah. So it's a process. We do have, it's something we work on. I know here, like you mentioned, the level 2 charger that you plugged in at the convention center. So understanding that's not, Okay. So, those are the things, like I said, I know the infrastructure has been working to keep up as I have an EV myself and can know sometimes, depending on the size of your battery and the weather outside, with all the hills we have between here and Albuquerque, it can be sometimes challenging. But the nice thing is over the past, probably I'd say within the last like six or 7 months, there's been the installation of the chargers in Socorro, then in Elephant Butte as well. So there's some nice resources that are making it a little bit easier, but understand the challenge that you've had, because I with my EV, have had to stop for charges on the way up to Albuquerque. But for my everyday vehicle, it makes so much more sense in terms of the cost of owning the vehicle. It's been significant. I have enjoyed it. So, but again, welcome to it, and just again, hopefully we'll have the 60-watt level 3 chargers up and running soon. So, thank you for sharing, Mr. Beath.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Thank you. I'd just like to send my condolences to the Allens family. Recently, we lost Lynn Allens, and I was very fortunate that we were having conversations during the last few months of his life. We will be putting forth a proclamation in the next month or so, but my condolences to his family. He was a giant of a man, and during the last few months, we became very good friends, or closer friends than we were before. Thank you.
Of course. Just a general announcement. There's going to be a public safety town hall tomorrow at the convention center at 5:30 to 7:30 with the Thursday. Today's Tuesday. Yes, today's Tuesday. So it's Thursday from 5:30 to 7:30 with Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, and it will also be live streamed if you want to tune in. And that's again at 5:30 to 7:30 on July 25th at the convention center. And that's all. Any other? Yes, Commissioner Reynolds.
Okay, I did look at my calendar, so I've got it worked out now.
Oh, okay, perfect. Glad I could help.
The colonel's getting promoted on August the 5th. Movida has a Borderplex Forum August the 6th as well at Hotel Encanto. And this Thursday at noon, Colquitt Water Company has a luncheon that they sponsor down in Chaparral every second month, every other month. So if anybody wants to attend, thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Any other commission input? Commissioner Murillo? Okay, seeing.
No, not at this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Okay, moving on, we do have minutes where we will be asked to accept the minutes from the work session and the regular meetings on both July 8th and July 9th.
I'll move approval of the minutes.
We have a motion by Commissioner Sanchez. I'll second. Any discussion, commissioners? Seeing none, Brandy, if we can get a roll call vote on the acceptance of the July 8th and July 9th meeting minutes.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparro.
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez.
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo.
Yes.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez.
Yes. Minutes are approved. Okay, moving on, we do have 2 items under approval. The first is a resolution approving Doña County's fiscal year 2023 to 2024 fourth quarter financial report, which ended June 30th of 2024. And we have our finance team here. Welcome again.
Good morning, Commissioners. So this is our fourth quarter report for FY24. As our fiscal year just ended on June 30th, we would be going over the entire fiscal year's revenues and expenses and overall picture. So here are the county-wide sources of revenue. The first column has our original adopted budget for FY24. Then there were adjustments which were done throughout the fiscal year. So we have the adjusted budget, and the third column shows us the actual for FY24 at year end, and then if it was over or under budget. So for revenues, the only item where we were under budget was GRT, which was because in the month of August of 2022, we had received exceptionally high GRT. It was 27% higher. In August of '23, it wasn't that high. But if we take out that month, overall, our GRT grew by about 6.4%. But we did receive property taxes 3.7 million higher than budgeted. Our equalization tax was also higher, which we adjusted from 4 to 6 million at mid-year. For fees and service charge for detention center, we received about 15.4 million. We had budgeted 12.7. Under miscellaneous, PILT came in higher. We received opioid settlement, 4.2 million, and our investment income came in much higher than budgeted at 6.4 million. Our budget was 3 million. The grants, we do see a negative here in revenue. That's because when we receive a grant, we budgeted for the entire grant period. Sometimes it's 3 years, 5 years grant. So we would only record revenue of the amount that was actually used or completed in that fiscal year. Fair value adjustment is for accounting purposes. It doesn't reflect our actual numbers or actual losses, or gains. So overall, if we remove the grants, distributions, and fair value, our revenues were 198 million, and we had budgeted 182 million, so they were 16 million higher during the fiscal year. Next, we will look at revenues just for a general fund. Again, we can see that GRT was slightly lower. That's because of 1 month of August. Property taxes are higher. In fees and service charge, the El Paso Electric franchise fee, the way it is paid out was changed this fiscal year. So now we would be receiving quarterly payment rather than the entire year. So we would receive it in FY25 and it would be adjusted. Investment income came in higher. In miscellaneous PILT came in higher. It was 3.5 million budgeted. We received 3.95. And fair value adjustment, again, is an accounting adjustment. So if we remove grants and fair value, our revenue would have been 109.79 million, and we had budgeted 104. So it's about 5.7 million higher for general fund. Now we look at county-wide expenses. So we were under budget in all these categories. In personnel, there were vacancies, turnover. Also, only 25 pay periods posted in FY24 versus 26 normal pay periods. That's why we see a savings of about 9 million there. In operating costs, also, we were under budget by 16 million, and it was increased during the year in the adopted budget. Debt service, the difference is about 210,000. We were under budget. Capital outlay, there are various items which would be carried over to the next fiscal year, FY25, for the items to be completed. State distributions here are law enforcement protection funds, EMS distribution, and fire. Here also the expenses were lower. We would carry over the remaining balance. And grants, our expenditures were based on the grants or projects that were completed in FY25. Next slide shows just the general fund expenditures. Here again, we were under budget with personnel, operating costs, capital outlay. Items would be carried over to the next fiscal year, and the grants under general fund is the BLM illegal dumping grant. So we were under budget in general fund as well on our expenditures. So this is the department detail. So this is for each department, their budget, what they actually spent in FY24, and if they were under or over budget. So almost all departments were under budget. For sheriff, we had 4.2 million under budget, of which about 3 million is in salaries and benefits and 600,000 in operations, 670 in capital, which would be moved to the following fiscal year. For the clerks, there are 890,000 under budget. Again, 339,000 of that is salaries and benefits, 229 in operations, and capital about 223,000. Then for assessors, it was 573 under budget, of which salary and benefits are recorded in the general fund, so the operating is here. And then moving on to the other departments, the commissioner's budget is 129,000 under budget, of which 52,000 was for salaries and benefits, and operations was 78,000. Under the operation is mainly made up of membership to different organizations, travel, and other items.
Asma, really quick. So for the general fund department detail, is this salary saving? Is this personnel savings, or is this?
It's all of them. So it is
everything.
salaries, operations, and some capital items.
So for a couple of these, what I think would be good to see, and it can be maybe just sent to us an email, is a breakdown of what those savings are, if it's equipment, if it's line items, if it's personnel, and just kind of go through so we can see where those savings are for next year's budget.
Yes, we can provide more details in an email as requested. And so we continue with the other departments also. Again, in external agency funding, there are 519,000 under budget, but there will be final payments made out in FY25 for their FY24 contracts. Risk management had savings of 1.4 million, which included a lot of law enforcement deduction, workmen's compensation, general liability, litigation settlements that were budgeted at higher and actuals were less. IT 802,000, of that 211 is salaries and benefits, 539 operations, and capital 53. Then we had county manager was the only department was slightly over budget, which was because of a payout 5,000. And then other departmental items here include the GRT admin fee, accrued interest purchase, penalty expenses. In community development, there were 882,000 under budget, of which 621,000 was salaries and benefits, 99,000 in operations, 163 in capital. Animal control, 429,000, of which 267 is again salaries and benefits. Facilities and parks was 1.2 million under budget, of which 189 was salaries and benefits. Operations 465 and capital 620,000. The projects would be moved on to the next fiscal year, would be carried forward. And grand total of all these departments is being shown on the next slide. So here we have a summary of the prior 3 slides. So as we can see, public safety, elected officials, administration, everything has been under budget. And overall, general fund was under budget by 13.5 million or 15%. Moving on to the other non-general fund departments. For detention, they were 4.9 million under budget, of which 1.9 million was salaries. Operations was 1.3 and capital 1.7 million. Fire excise tax was various fire projects, such as station remodel, transport, rescue vehicles and rehab units. So these would be completed in the following fiscal year. Fleet 2.6 million, of which capital is 2.4 million, which would be done in the next fiscal year. Healthcare assistance fund, again, the salaries and this was 1.3 million under budget. 45,000 is for salary and operations 1.27. There has been savings in contractual services. HHS Health Fund was 1.8 million under budget, of which 272,000 was salaries, 1.5 million was operations. Roads and engineering 951,000, salaries and benefits were 311, operations 636, and capital is 4K. Flood is 3.5 million under budget. 2.5 of that is capital projects. Utilities 2.5 million under budget, of which operating costs were 303 and capital 2.2 million. And so the total for other departments is 22.6 million, and all departments stayed within budget.
Asma, really quick, also, so I appreciate you telling us what is under salary and what is under like general. Can you get that information to us as well, just so that we can see? I appreciate you saying it out loud, but it would be nice to have it in a spreadsheet.
Okay. Yes, we will provide the breakdown for the departments.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you. I just want to echo the sentiments of the chairman. I think one of the reasons is I think we want to be able to understand what are savings that we are seeing because of operations and like basically the items that we're not going to potentially have in the next fiscal year. And then if there are capital projects that say we didn't have expenditures for that came out of the general fund this year, but we're going to have to carry them into the next fiscal year budget. I think, like I said, it'll help us understand better where maybe our true savings are versus those that are just going to be carried over. So,
And
and that's, I'm sorry, no, and I think that's level of detail that I'd be looking for as well.
And I think it would be really helpful to start looking at that when we're doing the budget planning process next year as well, and having those side by side to see exactly where we're spending and saving. Because I know that we did take a lot of money out of reserves this year to get projects done, but seeing this huge savings that we're having, it makes me wonder what we're doing in the budget process that maybe is not, maybe that we can change. So I would really like to see that comparison to see what we can do next year differently as we get ready for that budget cycle.
Okay. Yes, we would be providing more details.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chair, if I can real quick, the commissioners are clearly on the right track of questioning, is this really money we can now spend? And the answer is a lot of it really is committed. There is a good chunk that is crossing fiscal years because of contracts that just didn't get performed to the point of paying out, in particular vehicle fleets. You look at OEMs, they have the big contract for the rewriting of the All Hazards Emergency Operations Plan as just some examples. And I do believe, Asma, correct me if I'm wrong, but Workday is going to allow us in future years to really track that across years. Is that correct?
Yes, it should help us in tracking expenditures more closely.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Based on what the county manager said, how do we figure out and track which projects are being carried over, and we'd like to know why are they being carried over? Is this something that we missed? Is it something we're not doing efficiently enough? Is there some, do we need to put more money into it? Do we need to act more quickly? Do we need to plan better? I mean, a lot of the questions that Commissioner Sanchez and Commissioner Shaldo Hernandez are asking basically just says that what can the board do to look at these projects and make sure they're getting done on time so that we don't face this, how do we carry things over, or should we be doing that? So I think we need a better understanding of exactly where these projects are, what the reason is we're carrying them over, and if there's some process we can change or policy we can change to try to make it more efficient. I think that's what we're saying.
And also just to hit on that comment, thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. Thank you, Mr. Lopez. I think with that being said also, because if you're tuning in online or you're sitting here today not hearing the conversation, if you see these numbers, you're thinking that that's money that is actually being saved. But if it's allocated for next year and the next 3 years for projects, I need to see that, and I think people need to see that too, because if you see here and you say, there's $22 million in savings, I originally think that, oh, cool, now we get to look at some projects or capital expenses. But if that's allocated, that's not savings to me. That's not under or over budget. That's budget that's allocated next year. And I really need to see that to say, okay, so it's not 22 million out of, 5 million out of Mr. Baker's budget. He has projects that are going into next year, and that's money that's going to be allocated. Because my original thought is, cool, now I get to do something. Now we can look at other projects. Now we can see what we need to do to, bring more services into our community. So seeing another column with that would benefit me greatly. And also I think it would benefit anyone tuning in on YouTube today. So thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. And Mr. Lopez, thank you for that clarity, and I appreciate exactly, you can see where we were going, and I really appreciate it, and I really do appreciate it, Asma and Lucio. I think one of the things that we've seen, I think as we start looking and digging into more of the details, as we start to try to figure out how we find ways to finance new projects, we talk on our ICIP list. I think it's just all kind of how a better understanding for us as commissioners to be further educated so that then we kind of have an idea as we start having discussions of what tools we have in our toolbox to be able to come and fund some of these new projects that we started to have that during or discussed during the work session. So I'm excited for it, and I said I think like I said, as we start digging into this, I'm excited to see what these numbers are and where we could again, I think as Commissioner Reynolds put it, what can the BOCC do to support you all and our residents as well as the operations of the county? So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Asma.
Thank you.
So this one is a recap. So we began our fiscal year 24 with 198 million in cash. During the year, the revenues were 253 million. Our expenditures were 244 million. We have adjustments of 1.7 million, which are adjustments, temporary adjustments in balance sheet items like payables and receivables. So our ending cash balance is 205 million. So we started with 198, ended with 205. So we added about 7 million to our cash balance. Of this ending balance, 76 million is unrestricted. We are required to maintain a reserve on that. Taking out the reserve, it would be 48.9 million of unrestricted, 50 million of designated, and 79 million of restricted. That's what the 205 million comprises of. And we would be looking at FY25 budget next, where we would begin the year with this 205 million balance.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Reynolds.
Yeah, Ms. Asma, I appreciate the summary there on the restricted, unrestricted. Be nice to have a line down at the bottom of this chart or another chart just to talk to that. So we have a kind of a big picture of what we can use and what we can't use. Just one quick line. You said it great, but I'd like to see it in writing so we can refer to it back later.
Okay, we will add that along with the other detail that we provide.
Thank you, ma'am.
To the commission. So our next steps is submitting the fourth quarter report to DFA. It is due end of July. And after the approval from the board, we would be uploading it on their system. And then please let me know if there are any questions.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Vice Chair Murillo.
I so move on this item, please.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept. Thank you again, both you and Lucio, for working on this today. I think it's really beneficial. I think all the commissioners gave you some insight to our thought process. So just kind of figuring out next steps to kind of present us the information so we better understand where we're going with the next budget cycle could help us tremendously. But again, thank you so much for your work on this. It looks great. Commissioners, any other thoughts or comments? No. Seeing none. Brandy.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparro,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo,
Yes.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez.
Yes.
That item does have a resolution number.
Go ahead.
That number is 2024-89.
Thank you so much, Brandy. Thank you again. Okay, moving on, we have a resolution adopting Doña County's fiscal year 2024 to 2025 final budget. Welcome back.
So, good morning, Commissioners. This is Asma Daud. Today, I would be presenting the FY25 final proposed budget. So we had come before the board in April to present the preliminary budget. So here we would only have the changes from preliminary to final. There are certain items added in revenue and expenditure. We would look at the budget overview, recap, and recurring revenue and expenditure balance. So the changes that we have made in the revenue is at the preliminary budget, it was 283 million. Now it has increased by 6.7 million, and it's 290 million. The increases are in PILT. We received 3.95 million versus what we had budgeted, 250,000 over in end of June. State distributions came in 108,000 higher, and then we are adjusting the grant budget based on various grants throughout the county. On our expenditure side, preliminary budget was 363 million. Now it's 364 million. The difference is 603,000. There are several increases, and also there are some decreases in expenditures, so the net effect is 603,000. For personnel, there was union agreements for 236,000, also 3 new position requests. One is for an attorney, one is for public information officer for public safety, and a doc tech for HHS. There are various adjustments in operating costs for the ERP system from LATCF, facility space study, feasibility, fire trucks, fairground master plan, judicial complex lighting, ethics point upgrades. We also have other adjustments in capital process. So these items had previously been approved by the board, and we are adjusting the budget to carry over and complete the projects. So that's 4.2 million, which is being carried over for various fire tax item, fleet, fire water tender, facilities projects, risk management, utilities, fairgrounds, radios, equipment upgrades, vector, flood, corrections fund capital, that has been decreased, adjustments for BOE warehouse and roads initiative. Some other adjustments that we had was in state distributions and in different grants, which were adjusted to reflect the actual balances. So the net effect of all expense changes, as I mentioned, is 603,000 in the budget. So this slide shows the preliminary revenue in the first column, and then the final proposed revenue in the next column, and the difference. So the increases in revenue is for PILT for 250,000, for state distributions, and then adjustments for various grants, which are based on actual submissions. On the expenditure side, the differences are in personnel costs, operations, capital outlay, state distributions, and grant. The net effect is 603,000 from preliminary to final budget. So this is a recap for the FY25 final budget. So our beginning cash balance would be 205 million. Our budgeted revenues are 290 million. Our budgeted expenditures are 364 million, which would give us an ending cash balance of 130. We are required to maintain a reserve of 27 million, which would have an adjusting cash balance of 103. So we are budgeting to use 74 million of our reserves. However, we have seen in the past several years that usually we receive revenues higher than budgeted, and our expenditures are lower than our budget, and we end up adding money to our reserves rather than dipping into it. Just in FY24, we added about 7 million back to cash reserves. So of this 205.2 million, as I mentioned, it includes unrestricted, designated, and restricted. The 103.8 million that we are anticipating at the end of the fiscal year, 54 million would be unrestricted, 33 million designated, and 42 million is restricted. This shows the difference between our recurring revenues and expenditures. So our total revenues are budgeted at 290 million, and expenditures are 364. Use of reserves is 74 million. However, if we take out the one-time costs or those from restricted funds, we would have a surplus of 1.49 million. So our recurring revenues are about 1.5 million higher than our recurring expenses. Rest of them are one-time capital or restricted fund expenses. So our budget is due to DFA by 31st July, and we expect to get the approval from DFA by 1st September. So please let me know if you have any questions on the FY25 final budget.
Commissioners, any questions? I'm not seeing any.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Vice Chair Murillo.
I so move for this item.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Vice Chair Murillo and a second by Commissioner Sanchez. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Reynolds.
I know we have a lot of, since we have a lot of people in the audience, is there anyone else who would like to make a comment on this? Okay, that's all.
Okay, Ozma, can you go back 2 slides really quick? Yeah. So revenues are at 290, expenditures are at 364 with 74.3 coming out of reserves. Out of those 74.3, how much of that is a one-time expense and how much is a reoccurring expense? Do we know that?
So,
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Lucio Luttrell, Budget Officer. So all of the 74 million would be considered one-time, plus an additional 1.5 million, which is where we're showing the 1.5 million surplus.
Could you speak louder, please?
Sorry about that. Yes, so all of the 74 million plus an additional 1.5 million would be considered one-time. So we essentially have a budget surplus, a reoccurring surplus of 1.5 million at this point in time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. That's all my questions. Any other questions from the board? Seeing none, Brandy, if you can get a roll call on this, please.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparro,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo,
Yes.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez.
Yes. Motion carries, resolution's approved.
That does have a resolution number. The resolution number is 2024-90.
Mr.
Thank
Chair,
you, ma'am. Yes, Commissioner
now,
Reynolds.
before we move on to the correspondence, I would like to make a comment.
There's commission comment coming up. Oh, it's not on the agenda. Usually there's commission comment coming up. Go ahead, Commissioner Reynolds.
And maybe we should put that on the agenda. That's a
It's
joke.
usually there.
Yeah, it's supposed to be there.
Listen, I'd like to also make a comment that Commissioner Ellens had a lot of firsts and actually did provide a tremendous amount of service for this community over the years. First as a clerk, spent several years as a clerk, and also as a county commissioner. And just one of the first that I think everyone's aware of is the fact that he was the first one in the state to actually perform marriages to same-sex couples. And he really led the charge on that and felt that was very important. And that's just one of his many accomplishments. And so as a tribute to him, I would like to say thank you for all the things he did for the county here, and we should all appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Of course. Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. Any other commissioner comment? Seeing none. Brandy, any correspondence today?
We have Samuel C. Enriquez versus Doña County.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brandy.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner.
I'd like to make a motion that the commission convene in closed session in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, Section 1015-1, to discuss a limited personnel matter related to limited personnel matters involving the hiring of the county manager.
I second that. So we have a motion and a second to go into closed session.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Reynolds?
point of order. We need to actually state the Open Meetings Act 10-15-1H2 as the reference for that.
Looks like you got it done. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Brandy?
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Chaparro,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez.
Yes.
Vice Chair Murillo,
Yes.
Chair Shaljo Hernandez.
Yes, we're in closed session and we will be back later. William, I am here, all alone in the darkness.
Thank you, Senor.
You know what? On the last meeting that I ever have, I'm gonna do a full Broadway performance. Okay, thank you, William. We are back from closed session. The time is now 12:21. Thank you for saying that. I didn't listen. And let the record reflect that nothing was discussed. Items identified in the motion to go into closed session. And now we're adjourned. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you, William. And we're back like it never left.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for being patient. That was time, took time.